Hi everybody, Jane here, and today I'm reviewing My Lovely Wife by Samantha Downing. This is a thriller about a couple who commit murders together. It is sold as like a Dexter meets Mr. and Mrs. Smith. And I don't necessarily entirely agree with that. I kind of can see where they're coming from, but that wasn't the vibes that I necessarily got from the book. I'm not going to go into too much detail at the start of this because I know some people don't like spoilers, so I'm going to give you like my rating and some real broad things that worked or didn't work for me. Then I am going to do a spoiler section because I feel like there's a lot to talk about in this book, and I want to be really justified in explaining what didn't jive with me. So I picked this book up because Books and Lala really loved it. And so maybe I went in with a little bit too high of expectations. Because this wasn't a terrible thriller. I was expecting like a 5-star best thriller of the year. And for me, it was kind of meh. I really wasn't as impressed as I hoped to be. It was a 3 out of 5. Not terrible. It was definitely a readable book. And it had some really cool things, but there were things that just did not sit well with me. So first, let's talk about what I think was done well. I don't think this is a spoiler because it takes place literally on the first page. This book is told in the first person point of view of the husband, and I cannot actually remember his name because it's told from his perspective. But in our very first chapter, we have him telling a girl that his name is Tobias and that he is deaf. And we learn that this is one of his strategies for finding out information about victims, potential victims, and stalking them, is to be pretending to be deaf, to learn about them, and kind of flirt with them, that kind of thing. I thought that was kind of a cool way to investigate victims. Our point of view character, I had very mixed feelings about overall. He was kind of interesting, and I did love in the book that there was a focus with particularly him of keeping outward appearances very normal. He is a tennis instructor, his wife's a real estate agent, and from like the outside looking in, these people do not look like serial killers. So I guess maybe in that way there is a Dexter vibe because they have certainly we go about our day and then just on the side occasionally kill people. But, we've got practice with the kids and other things too. I think that was the extent of things I really enjoyed. This book I found very slow in the beginning. I was pretty bored through about the first 3/4 of the book. Once reveals started happening, it did pick up, but I didn't necessarily like some of the reveals. A couple of them I had kind of guessed, and then one in particular I didn't feel like it had maybe been foreshadowed enough or appropriately to make it believable. And that was a reveal about Millicent's character. Millicent is the wife, and her character along the way. So it wasn't bad, but I definitely don't feel like this for me lived up to the hype that I kind of was expecting, because I'd heard, and it wasn't just Books and Lala, I'd heard a couple other people talk about it and really like it, and I'm not really sure what about it they found so amazing and out there, because a lot of them didn't do a spoiler section, which I kind of wish they had, because I would like more in-depth thoughts of why you thought this was amazing, and maybe see if there's something that I just was kind of missing. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and turn into the spoiler section and talk more in depth about some of the things in this book that I didn't really like or that were confusing to me. And if you haven't read the book, you might want to come back after you read it if you don't want to be spoiled. All right, so let's talk about kind of some of the reveals happening. During the course of the book, we learn that Millicent, her and her husband, the first person they ever killed was her sister. And she had told her husband that her sister was mentally unstable and that is why they had to kill her. And I was fine with that. But I was really surprised that in this book, like, they hadn't been killing very long. By the time that we meet the characters, they've killed, I think, 4 people. At least the husband thinks they've killed 4 people. So the first person they kill is Millicent's sister. Then a girl who comes looking for Millicent's sister. And my understanding from the book is that after the killings, Millicent got all horny, and so the husband's like, hey, this is great sex. And so if this is what it takes to get off, that's great. And I wasn't really thrilled with that as a motivation for why they kill people. Like, I feel like there's got to be something that works a little better than that for getting off, but okay. So they go, and then after those first 2 murders, which were necessary, at least he believes they were necessary murders, they go and start looking for targets of people to kill. I think that is one thing I would have liked a little better, is if they'd have been further along in their killing journey, maybe, before we got where we did in the book, because it was kind of strange. And they don't pick up victims very often, which, I mean, they're from a small town. I can see where that would be a problem. Also, we find out that he thinks that the wife is just like killing them and tossing them in the swamp, maybe, to get rid of the bodies. That's what they did with the first 2. But actually, the wife has started torturing them and is keeping the victims for like a year because she's cray-cray. And I kind of had mixed feelings and emotions about that. Like, I'm not sure that you can go from a fairly reasonable, normal looking, at least, person to I randomly murdered a ton of people and didn't ever show mental health problems. Like, they say that she was actually the one that was crazy, and she would hurt her sister and then say that hurt herself and then say that her sister had hurt her. And that was kind of like what was happening with the sister. And she convinced the husband that, like, sister was cray-cray, she just got out of an institution. That sister had been in an institution because Millicent had been hurting herself and blaming it on the sister. You have a background there, but I still feel like going from I occasionally cut myself and blame it on my sister to I'm going to murder people for fun is a really big leap, especially, over the course of a fairly long time. He's been married to this woman for quite a while. They've got 2 teenagers. So I wasn't sure I was comfortable with, she hasn't really shown herself to be psychopathic, gonna kill people crazy, until suddenly she is. And then we go from, he realizes that this woman who he loves and who's the mother of his 2 teenage children is, torturing people for a year. It was, I kind of had a hard time believing that he didn't see anything and that she didn't do any more screwed up things, or that she'd gone for so long without killing anybody, maybe. I had a hard time leaping there with we've killed 4 people, and up until now, Millicent has seemed like a perfectly stable, normal, doesn't need to see a psychiatrist type person. Like he said, he's given us little hints that there were things that maybe were a little off about her, but nothing that would make you think homicidal, gonna kill people. So that didn't really work for me. I did love that In the course of trying to hide their murders, they or he decides that they should frame an old suspected murderer. And as they do this, their daughter gets really afraid and starts like having all kinds of anxiety and problems. And I actually really enjoyed that. I enjoyed that look of, his frustration in dealing with and concerns about, his daughter and her mental health because they're framing this other guy for murder and, trying to convince his daughter that she's safe and that, the big bad scary people aren't going to get her when he's the big bad scary people. So I did really like that. I thought that was well done and a lot of fun. And their parenting dynamics were interesting. However, one of the reveals at the end is that Millicent frequently poisons members of her house with eye drops. And I really had a hard time with that because and they're like, "Oh, she's just crazy." But this is a woman who has been going to PTO meetings, helping with homework, is really health conscious about what she feeds her family. And you're telling me this mother who's like a Stepford wife type thing, at least as he describes her, and he may be an unreliable narrator. That may be part of it. And I didn't necessarily get that feel from him, but he just gets so much wrong or there's so much that's not congruent that I feel like, I don't know. But this woman is poisoning her children. She is literally poisoning her children, but she acts the loving mother all the time. And I know that that can happen with like Munchausen's, but it's almost so much crazy rolled into one that I'm not sure how someone at this level of, I'm murdering people, I'm torturing people for a year, I'm poisoning my children, how can she present herself as so mentally healthy mom of the year? I had a hard time believing that. And I really had a hard time with her poisoning the children. If she wasn't poisoning the children, this would have probably been, I don't know if it would have been a 4 out of 5, but it certainly would have been like a 3.5 out of 5. That really, I just couldn't. I did not think that was very believable because she acts so invested and loving. And the answer is at the end is just, oh, she's crazy and she likes to hurt people. I don't know that I buy her hurting her kids. Like, she kills, like, because she gets excited about it the first couple times. It's fun. She gets off on killing her sister and the person who comes looking for her sister. And again, I'm not sure how much I believe in that whole, oh, suddenly I just realized I like killing people. I was crazy before. Nobody noticed. And now I really am crazy because I like killing people. But anyway. But then she starts killing or torturing the other women and stuff the way she does, and there's more of them. We find out that she's been killing people behind her husband's back and that she's been torturing them because the husband started sleeping with the victims. So I didn't love him as a character, I will say, and I think that, it was a little bit stupid of him to sleep with these girls and then be like, yeah, we shouldn't kill them, or we should kill them, or whatever. She seemed like she was trying to get revenge because what ultimately happens is she starts framing her husband for the murders. So he killed one person, and that was the second person who came looking for the sister. He killed her, but nobody else in this whole thing did he kill. And the wife frames him for all the murders. And she doesn't even do it very well because the police realize almost immediately that it's not him. And yeah, I wasn't real thrilled with that part of it. I thought, really? So we're going to have this big thing of, he's been framed for these murders, and he does go on the run. And that is important to the story, but I mean, long term, there's no consequences. Even for the person he did kill, okay? He gets off scot-free. He keeps his children, even though he killed the one person and helped his wife pick out victims. And he doesn't even go to jail. He's still raising his kids. Like, that That's not what we do. Obviously, at the very least, you're an accomplice to murder. I don't know. But he was definitely not an innocent bystander, and he did not get punished nearly as deeply as he needed to get punished. I was not thrilled with a lot of the places this book went. I was, I kind of understood her killing her sister to hide the fact that she wasn't crazy, killing the friend to hide the death of her sister, killing the women and torturing them because her husband slept with them. But to poison her kids, I mean, I feel like they were trying to make her into a bigger monster than she was. In like I feel like that just makes her completely crazy because I mean even with Dexter, he had people he was close to and people who he loved. He wasn't a monster. And she's a monster, but I feel like if you're the level of monster that she is, it's gonna be hard to hide it. So her poisoning her children and poisoning her husband, like over a long period of time and making him sick, like she wasn't necessarily trying to kill him, but like we find out that she's been poisoning them off and on and, you know, making them sick. And I think we're supposed to be getting the impression that she's doing it to so that she can commit the murders and that her husband kind of has to go home and take care of the kids instead of like hanging out and murdering people with her so that she can take the victims and torture them for a year. But I really had an issue with her poisoning her children and the husband not so much, but her children. You have to be a really messed up psycho to murder people and kill your children or try or poison your children, make your children sick. I just this was a really frustrating book for me because of that. And because there were no consequences for the husband or not adequate consequences for the husband despite his involvement. He was not an innocent bystander. And he basically gets away scot-free even though he was picking out people to be murdered. He did murder one person, and at the end of the book he's still raising his kids and everything's fine. It just I was not okay with that. Another thing that to me was kind of weird is in the very last scene of the book, we have him presenting himself as deaf to a lady, like flirting with her. And I'm not really sure where the author was going with that. I'm not sure if she's telling us that he is actually more crazy than we thought and he's a very unreliable witness. And so he really had more to do with the killings and he was lying to us. Because why else is he showing up trying to be deaf? Unless he's trying to get in girls' pants, because obviously that worked. Otherwise his wife, you know, wouldn't have been like, I set you up because you cheated on me. Um, so I really wasn't sure about why they did that at the ending or what, because it seemed like he made it sound like he was just, you know, trying to help find victims for his wife because it got him sex, which is a terrible, terrible, terrible reason to stalk people and then sleep with them and then murder them because it makes your wife horny. It just, his motivations confused the crap out of me. And again, maybe he was an unreliable narrator, but I didn't feel like that was laid out as explicitly as I needed it to be. And I don't know. It just, maybe, again, I don't read a ton of thrillers, so maybe I am missing elements of this. But I wasn't that impressed with it. I loved his devotion to his family. That was the only, like his kids. That was the only part of him that I really could appreciate because he does, after his wife frames him, go back, like realizing his wife is a psycho, he goes back to try to save the kids. And he could have just run off and been like, yo, she's not really going to hurt the kids. It's fine. But he doesn't. He goes back for the kids, and I have to give him like some props for that. But overall, I didn't like him. I didn't think the wife was a I didn't think the wife was well written, maybe. Like, again, she was so extremely crazy, but yet he didn't see any of her cray cray until she was like a 10. Or he saw like a little. She was like down here. But she spent her childhood cutting herself and blaming her sister. And then apparently it just stopped. I don't know. And then suddenly her sister shows up. She kills her. And then it's all like, oh, we should kill people for fun. And not only are we going to kill people for fun, and if it had started like we killed like a dozen people for fun and then escalated to, I found out you're sleeping with them and I'm going to torture them for a year, maybe I could have gone there. But that's not what happened. We're at 4 victims when all this is going on. And again, he finds out that she tortured, I think it was victim number 3, for a year before showing up, or before, yeah, she tortured the victim 3 for like a year before killing her. And I feel like if you escalated that quickly and you're poisoning your children, and the only answer is, oh, she must be crazy. How did you not see that level of crazy before? I just don't understand that. I didn't get the Dexter vibes from this as the way I wanted to. Like I would have been okay with them killing because they liked it. I'd even have been okay with him killing because they got off on it if they did it differently. And with Dexter, he's a good character with some really dark urges. I'd have been okay with that too. They want to kill pedophiles. They want to kill bad guys. They want to be like the neighborhood watch vigilantes. That's fine. I could have done any of that. But that's not what I got. There's innocent people. He goes, he sleeps with them, and then his wife gets jealous. He's sleeping with them to try to decide who his wife should kill. His wife gets jealous and starts killing people that he didn't intend as targets and torturing them because she's crazy. This book, just so many levels didn't work for me. And, as I said, the first 3/4 of the book were fairly boring. He's sleeping with girls. And being like, oh, no, that's not our next victim. She's a boyfriend, she's a cat, she is whatever. It's going to be hard to make it so that we don't get caught. And he's teaching tennis and helping the kids with their homework or whatever. Their son's in some sport, watching sport games. All this parent stuff. And then trying to frame the other serial killer. So sending messages to the news anchor and being like, hey, I'm back. And I'm a serial killer. And I killed all those girls a long time ago, but I'm killing again, and I thought I'd reach out. I mean, that was like the whole first 3/4 of the book, and it just, I don't know. It wasn't what I thought I was getting. And I'm not sure why some people are so crazy about this book. There was a lot that didn't work for me. I think I'm going to end here because we're at almost 25 minutes. Hopefully I'll edit it down to about 20. This wasn't a bad thriller. It wasn't what I was expecting. I didn't like the way it was executed, and I didn't like the author's decisions about it. It's readable. I don't think it's not. It is absolutely a readable book. It was an okay time. There was some cool moments. I didn't love it, and I hated the ending, both because he got away with everything while she didn't, and also because I don't know what he's doing pretending to be the deaf guy again. So, all right. If you've read the book, feel free to leave your thoughts below. Like and subscribe, and I will talk to you next time. Bye.